Welcome, everyone. My name is Shawn Jones, and I'm the CEO of the iNetrapreneur Network. And today I have with me an incredible man who has a story, a journey. He works with entrepreneurs across the world. He's on stages. He's on TV. He broadcasts. He teaches people how to appear virtually and in person on stage. Today I have with me Rich Bontrager. Rich, welcome.
Thanks, Shawn. Thanks for having me on today. And I'm looking forward to what's coming up very soon.
So I'm going to jump right into it. You are a virtual presentation coach, but you're also more than that. Share with us what it is that you do for others.
Yeah, nowadays, everything is media. If you do not understand how you are now a media entity and how you use media, you're missing out. I've got 30 years of broadcast experience. I live, eat, drink, sleep media all my life. You now are not only the spokesman, the CEO, you are not only the salesperson, the spokesperson, you are now a media entity through YouTube, through Twitter, through all the different channels now, but you have to learn how to present, to promote, to sell, and do it all really well. Because the first thing we have to learn is you're a media outlet now. You have to act and sound like a media outlet.
And there's secrets or keys, I should say, to being that media outlet.
Yeah, but one of them is we now have to learn how to talk in sound bites. The long rambling narratives that we've all done, you don't do them anymore. Everyone wants that nugget. Everyone wants that sound bit. So the sound bite culture is here. Think of TikTok. TikTok started with 1 minute clips. If you couldn't say it in a minute, it wasn't going to happen. We all have to figure out how to communicate, tell our stories, tell our brands in a way that somewhere there's that nugget, that hook. Like with me, when I talk about rocking the virtual stage, I talk about it's ever expanding. And I use that all the time. It's one of my go-tos. You have to figure out what you, for your brand, for your business, one of those hooks that can always be grabbed as you talk in sound bites.
I always say we're in a society now that those sound bites, it's a snapshot. You can't tell everything like you used to. People have a very low attention span, and within just a few seconds, it will literally change that person's mind, whether they're going to move on or dive more into what you have to say.
Exactly. And then you can always expound. You can always do part two of the question. Don't give the fire hose at once. Or storytelling. Storytelling in a way that story will captivate, it will grab them, and they'll want to know more. Have them more curious, and you just kind of vomiting all over them. You want them to be hooked in a way they're more curious about you and your content, and that's why they keep coming back and they keep coming back.
Virtual stages. A lot of people who prior to COVID, they would do a lot of the in-person stage. And maybe they had dabbled into the virtual world, but it still wasn't quite to what it is today. What are some areas when you work with new clients that you find are some of their struggles to start performing virtually?
Well, number one is there are crossovers from the physical stage to the virtual stage. But there's things like you can't just do the big hand gestures and go off camera anymore. It doesn't work. You have to realize this is now TV. So you can do hand gestures, you can use them, but they're going to be more compacted, constricted, but more intentional. I always talk about the car light dumbing. When you drive by those car lots and you got the thing flapping in the air or the hands going everywhere, that's uncontrollable energy. You don't want that. You can get away with that on the big stage sometimes, but here you have to be more compact and more controlled. So that's one of the first things. What do I do with these hands? How do I use them now? Because I'm used to just flapping them all over the place. It's a new technique to be on TV.
It really is. And to me, speaking on camera, whether you're doing a Zoom-based, a webinar, or even television studio, you really learn about yourself when you watch the replays and how you pronunciate your words, your eye contact. There's a lot to really think about, including even how you present with your color palette up against your backdrops.
That's huge. So I do use a green screen. I do not use the built-in Zoom feature, whatever platform you're on. The green screen absorbs the light, grabs it, The digital image is sharper and better. You'll often get those ghosted hands. We've all seen half the head or it scrunches the hair. It's not good. So you really want to use a physical green screen. You also cannot wear green if you're going to be on that, because you'll be the headless horseman, disembodied head, whatever, because you will phase in and out and disappear with the green. But also what I've found is it's not just that. You have to have the right lighting, and you also have sound. So I always use a textured cloth, help absorb the sound, muffle it, kill it, because now you're in a studio setting, not an open amphitheater. So there's a lot of things that come in when you use the green screen and you start getting the studio vibe. How do you control the environment to make it the environment?
When you work with your clients, do you take them down through a path or a journey, a checklist, if you will, of every aspect of being able to speak on camera or from stage?
Yeah, so I've got the 5 E's of the virtual stage I talk about. I talk about energy. I talk about the environment. What does it look like? What does it feel like? How does it communicate? You better engage, break the glass. On stage, we talked about breaking the audience glass. You really have to break the glass now here. How do you raise the engagement? There's always going to be the educational component. You know, everyone wants to set. You want to put that last on the checklist because you also want to have entertainment now. And for some people, that's very hard. I've never done entertainment. It's not the comedy jokes. It's not the one-liner. It's the entertainment value, the component of this is fun. This is exciting. It's moving, compelling. Then you can educate them. So I do have that checklist of bringing you alive in an entertaining, compelling way.
Now, through your coaching, you also offer other services. I mean, you have different areas that you work with individuals. What are some of those other fields that you help entrepreneurs or businesses to achieve?
Podcasting is a huge thing right now, and podcasting is another one of those areas. It's kind of like the new business card. So you need to have good, compelling podcasts. I help people learn how to create, run, promote, but also, even though they don't see you, the personality is still very much alive. Or is it an interview segment? Good interviewing skills. How do you do a proper interview? How do you start a show and wrap up a show? That's much of what I do as well. I also coach the TV side, but also social media is such a big thing now. How do you leverage your brand through social media? And branding is so big, Sean, because you don't want 5 different versions of your brand. You want one brand. They'll find you, they'll like you, they'll follow you, and they'll know it's always a trigger. That's definitely the trigger. And you have to have the sharp branding that carries across all your platforms. So that's some of the other coaching I do with this.
Wow. You know, you mentioned podcasting, and it's incredible how many new podcasts come out, I would say daily.
Yeah.
But if you also notice, half of them don't stick beyond 30, 60, maybe 90 days if they're lucky. Why is that?
So people think it's a wonderful thing. Everyone wants to be the new Joe Rogan or whoever they think it's going to be. Okay, there's only a couple Joe Rogans out there. Let's all admit that. You're not going to be that. But if you're trying to get content, if you're trying to use promotion, you can do it. People realize it takes more work. It's the edit, the upload, the takes, the bloopers. Oh, I got to set up my gear again. So they get disenfranchised very quickly. Did you know that the average podcast does not make it past 10 episodes on all platforms across the board? So if you make it past 10, 12, 13, 20, you're in the upper echelon already. But people think it's so much, but the value of this is so powerful now because you're leveraging media, you're leveraging your thought influence through something that's so powerful. You're literally in their head. You're literally inside the head. If you can go from the head to the heart, you've won.
And I know individuals who have their own podcast show, and maybe it's more of like an interview format with guests that come on, and they take those interviews and they turn it into content for another platform. Maybe it's their magazine or whatever the oars lead to.
So the repurposed content is one of the hidden secrets. Many people are just running it, airing it, and letting it flow to iTunes. And that's the end of it. On to the next one. No, you want to repurpose. Take the really good soundbite. I talked about sound bites earlier. Now you grab a soundbite, you drop it on the Twitter. You put it on other platforms. You put it on your website. You use it in social media with a little graphics, and you can have the words pop up. It's an endless array of how you can repurpose it. And to talk about the writing side for a second, you can take a transcript of your podcast, turn them into mini one-pagers, turn them into books. If you compilate the different themes over your podcast, now you have a book. And half the work is already done for you. You've already done the interview. You've already got the one-liners. You've already got the theme. Now you just need to bundle it together and put that out there as well.
And with all of these different areas that are out there, the podcasting, the stage, all the sound bites, you really are building your credibility across multiple facets. And you can tie it all into your website and even landing pages and get opt-in. I mean, there's so many different ways that are powerful to grow your audience.
Let's take it beyond your webpage. Everyone thinks about that. Everyone thinks about my site, my web, my Twitter. Let's take it to Roku. Like they get the Amazon Fire. My show now, How to Rock the Virtual Stage, is on Roku. It is on Amazon Fire. Your video content now can literally be independently shown, and you have your remote sitting home. People watch at home on their living room screen. We've now changed the game from streaming video to video, TV content. That's a new game changer for everyone. We didn't have that years ago. It was ABC, CBS, NBC. Now it's you on your platform on Roku. How's that?
It doesn't get any better, Rich. It truly doesn't. I mean, it's incredible. And what I love about what you offer is you teach people. You kind of take the mystery out of it. You dismiss those myths and you show them step by step how they can intertwine everything and go beyond just that single podcast, that single tweet that goes out.
It really does need to be an endless circle. Once you have one part of it, then there's another repurpose. There's another way to rebrand it, to rewrap it. And content is never ending. You could pull off something from 10 years ago. If it's the right soundbite, think about the journalists. They always go to the archives. They always pull out something from then that impacts now. You save it, you repurpose it, and you can do the same thing with your content. It only elevates your thought leadership, your brand, your influence. It will all grow, but now you have to think like a media expert.
That's incredible. Well, Rich, I want to thank you so much for being here, sharing your insight. I know that you speak on stages and to audiences all the time. You're going to be on a stage coming up here shortly on Tuesday, September 21st at the Art of Connection Virtual Global Summit.
Looking forward to that. The Art of Connection is a great title because this is all about connecting. This is now the number one tool to connect is your media, your stage presence, your persona. You need to figure it out. You really need to grow this, leverage this. So it is about the connection. And we're going to have a lot of other experts like myself there to help you better connect and grow your brand and grow your business levels. I'm thrilled to be a part of it, Sean. Thanks for having me there. Rich,
before we end this interview, tell the world, how can they get in contact, find out more about Rich Trigger Bontrager?
Really, the easiest way is rich@richbontrager.net. That's the personal email. It goes right to my team. We take care of you. We will get in touch with you. I'm also on LinkedIn. You can easily find me on LinkedIn. That's my second resource I will use. Of course, there is a website. Go check that out, richbontrager.net. But the email, rich@richbontrager.net. It's always the easiest way, and you will personally hear from me. I promise, one-on-one contact.
Thank you again, Rich, for being here.
Thank you much for having me on, Sean.
For those of you who are tuning in, I just interviewed Rich Trigger Bontrager. He will be one of our experts at the upcoming Art of Connection Global Summit on September 21st. You too can hear more from Rich directly. You can also experience his Learn Shops that he'll be putting on throughout the event and talk to him when he's off stage. That is power. To get your ticket and be part of this global event, visit artofconnectionsummit.com.